The bounty hunters. One cut it down to needing 8.5 minutes to calm Prime. Then the lights shift around the doors, bluish-green. Follow the lights, please. Just a heads up, girl. If this is a trap, we're going to start structurally collapsing this place so we can sift through the rubble rather than walk the halls. Understood? Pukey calls up. Really? One asks in a shocked tone. Yes, Pukey says. Hold on a moment, one says nervously. You have 1 minute, Pukey says. Going hard, huh? The hat asks in an approving tone. I was treating them as children who didn't know better. But the kid gloves have been lost in the vacuum of space. I dare say that my patience has been outright saintly, all things considering. Pukey remarks. Yeah, bit of a weakness that we tend to treat the smaller races kinder by instinct. If this has proven anything, it's that just because they're below waist height means they can still take out your kneecaps. The hat notes. Especially if they have some level of reality control over your immediate surroundings. Dong notes dryly. Are you still there, Mr. Scary Soldier Man? Men? One asks again. Are you going to tell us the proper route, one? Pukey asks. I'm two, actually, but if I show up to show you the way, will you please not hurt me? One's having a panic attack. Two explains and Pukey sighs. Yes, our policy is to only hit first if there's ample evidence of malfeasance or if we have a confirmed bounty target. If you don't try to attack us, we won't attack you. Pukey answers and there's no answer. Hello? Two? Are you still listening? A tiny voice says from nearby and a half-grown Kobe peers around the door of the previous room. There's no mistaking the naked fear on her face. Bike being closest gives her a friendly wave and she ducks away. Pukey smacks his forehead in frustration. Things were just getting worse and weirder by the moment. Please don't hurt me! Two exclaims and there's a universal sigh around the group. She then lets out a squeak of fear as Pukey starts walking through the ankle-deep crystal skulls and dissolving blood towards her. He kneels down near the edge of the door and pulls off his veil to show his face. Child. I'm not a child. You're not even halfway finished your development, child. Provided you were made with the same growth rate and at the same time as your other siblings, then you're 4 years old and in a 12-year-old body. A child either way. But I keep others alive and work hard. Which is a shame because this should be the time you're exploring the world around you and learning while safe with family. Not time to work and labor, Pukey says softly. Who are you people? What do you want? I'm Captain Schmidt. This is my team. We, alongside our associates and family, are part of a bounty hunting operation that's an extension of the undaunted military. We were brought to the Albrecht system by a call for help identifying a being called Vasuda's Mart as a mass murderer that made others afraid to so much as speak their name. The method of the call was so odd and so abrupt that it drew our attention and we came to investigate. But it's a password. Why would anyone know the password to, It's a fairly universal password, isn't it? Pukey asks. I'm starting to think that the password was put in by accident. That while Iva was testing out some of her projects, she used her basic password on it, and before she understood entirely what she was doing, she had it locked in, meaning anyone who spoke anything similar to the password got killed. This, of course, spreads rumors. Recordings are made, and before we know it, 400 billion people are dead, Pukey explains. No, I don't believe you. She wouldn't do that. Two snaps back, peeking around the door and scowling, then flinching back when she realizes just how close Pukey is. It takes her a moment to come back after that. What would it take to convince you that I'm telling the truth? Pukey asks. What? Two asks. What would I need to do or show you that I'm honest? Pukey asks, and she has no answer. I don't know, she admits. I doubt you'd be willing to come with us so we can show you Albrecht and how things have been changed. No, never! 2 protests. Okay, so that's one way I can't. But what about someone whose judgment you might trust? Pukey asks. What makes you think I'll trust the word of anyone you know? I know 5, 3, 8, 12, 6, and 9. Would you trust them? Pukey asks. What? 2 asks, peering around, her eyes wide. We accidentally gave 5 a bit of a scare, but she's all right. The rest are safe on our ship. What about 4, 7, 10, and 11? 2 asks after a moment of staring. We have the authorities on Albrecht looking for them, Pukey says. If you've hurt them, I'm going to stop worrying. The biggest risk they're in right now is being adopted en masse by my wives and crew. We do everything we can to help the innocent. We're the good guys. No, you're not. We're trying to make sure Prime becomes amazing. A new, greater dawn on the galaxy. How can you do these things and even think you're the good girls? 2 demands. There's a saying back home, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, Pukey says before he looks back at the group and holds up his veil and mouths take it off. As everyone unveils themselves as 2 wrestles to understand the touch of good sense and wisdom from Earth. I don't get it, she says. Clearly, philosophy isn't one of the subjects she's been exposed to. It means that you can try and make something good and wonderful happen and still cause horrible things to happen instead. If you try to save someone's life but you need to kill other people to do it, then you've done something awful. Feeding the hungry is a good thing, but stealing from others to do so makes it a crime. Does this make sense? Pukey asks her. But you're still doing good, still trying to do good. Isn't that what makes things good? That you want good things to happen from it? 2 protests. If things were that easy, there wouldn't be any real need for bounty hunters like me, Pukey says. People that go out to do bad things for the sake of doing bad things are either well and truly sick in the head or somehow escaped out of some kind of movie, game, or book. But 2 tries to protest, but despite her ignorance and inexperience, she is not an idiot. What if you're doing the wrong thing now? What if you're wrong? Then I'm wrong. But I'm not the one who's made a dozen slave clones to do my bidding, slaughtered hundreds of billions in mad experiments, and have tried to forcibly make some kind of god. Pukey says, I'm not a slave. 2 protests hiding around the corner again in a clear huff. You're not. Were you ever allowed to say no? Have you ever even thought about saying no to all of this and going somewhere else to do something different? Pukey asks, and she's silent. Have you ever known anything else but this place? Why would I want to? I'm needed here. 2 says in a sulky tone. 2, would you like to see Albrecht? Do you want to meet your sisters? Have you ever met anything other than another Kobe before? Pukey asks gently. I mean, you're a Tret, right? 2 asks softly. Human, actually. Pukey replies, and she peeks around the corner again and she visibly scans his face. What's a human? BMO 100 to 100 number 1. Or, in other words, we're what happens when the monkey that would evolve to become a Tret starts out in a much more dangerous and deadly place. Actually. Hey, Air Farce, what's that hilarious thing you said we were being called? Pukey asked with a smile, looking back at the others. Canadors and Tret skin, Air Farce calls out with a smile. Hey, I got a question, boss. Shoot. Can I keep a souvenir? No matter how this turns out, a skull made of crystal is really cool, he asks, holding up one of the skulls in question. I think we should ask their carver first, which means we need to speak to Prime. What? No, I won't let you hurt him. 2 protests. Good. Pukey states, and it makes her pause. Good, she asks. We don't want to hurt him either. We want these experiments shut down and everyone out of this old base. It should have been condemned decades ago. Hell, it was condemned decades ago. No one should be here. It's not safe. Pukey pleads and she blinks. What? But it's safe. Your wiring is maybe one power surge away from failing completely under optimal circumstances, which, let's face it, growing some kind of axiom god out of a child is not an ideal circumstance for a machine to be under, Pukey explains. Also, mining stations like this often undermine their own structural support to get the last bit of whatever it is they're going after. I wouldn't be surprised at all if some places here are just waiting to collapse entirely. Bike pipes up and Pukey turns to look at him. Bad timing? Considering we're in the structure, yes, bad timing. Pukey growls. In my defense, I highly doubt it's the case, but it is another reason buildings like this should be avoided by civilians. I doubt Iva Grace was stupid enough to set her big experiment in a structurally unsound building. Like she was stupid enough to make her computer password a kill phrase that all but guaranteed that an entire planet would learn it, Pukey asks, and Bike holds up his hand and waggles it from side to side. I did check in advance for this place, provided that the expanded space hasn't cut any of the structural supports. We're safe. But in the future, most places like this aren't safe. It still needs to be condemned, but this is actually a better than average abandoned mining station. Well, thank you for the scare, asshole, Pukey growls out before turning back to two. Silliness aside, it would be better for you to come with us. As I said, it's not safe here. Two begins. Would you like to speak with the others? Pukey asks. Yes, I would like very much to speak with my sisters. Two says before there's a clear and sudden flash of inspiration behind her eyes. But not from your equipment. You might have something to fool me. There is a side room, though. I know how to work the equipment there. If you'll follow me to that and wait and listen as I speak with my siblings in there, then I'll be willing to bring you to 1 and Prime. 2 declares and the lights flicker. What's going on? Hopefully, it's just the wiring. But with our luck, Pukey begins before static starts blasting over the speakers. I know you don't trust me, little lady, but I need you stand closer if I'm going to be at all efficient in keeping you safe. None of you are safe. Not you saboteurs and not the traitor. A static-filled scream erupts from the speakers. She hasn't even done anything, Pukey calls up at the speakers. That you defend her condemns her, worthless clone. My goals are inviolate. My flesh fails, but I live on. I am more than meat and bone. I am a will and way. Veils on boys. We've got a spirit to kill. Pukey scowls as he pulls his back on and grabs Two to pull her close. Gravity suddenly shifts to the side and Pukey manages to brace himself over Two as an avalanche of crystal skulls, as well as several soldiers, rain down on them both. There's a moment of pause, and then everyone bolts away from the area as their danger sense spikes through the roof. Pukey carries Two to safety, even as the area they were in just a couple of heartbeats ago is ignited by a bright blue plume of plasma. Repurposed mining drone, tear it apart, Pukey orders as he gets a glimpse of the robot on the level below them. It jolts to the side to dodge a blast of plasma from Dong before the hat outright dives through the hole it made and it's forced to split its attention. There's a huge thump as the big man gets under the hovering robot and then kicks upward with both his feet to slam it into the ceiling. As it starts to drift downwards again, it completely fails to dodge another, much more reasonably aimed plasma shot from Dong, which kills it and leaves it to drop on the hat. "The fuck, man?" the hat demands. "Dude, get the hell out of the way. What are you doing?" "Ladies, stop your bitching and focus. I've got at least a dozen more drone signals coming our way. Get ready," Bike orders. "You heard the man. Prepare for engagement, little lady, if you'd be so kind as to hold on. I've got some wrecking to do," Pukey says, shifting Two to be on his back, and she clamps on for dear life.